How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing not bad, not bad.
Well,
It's officially starting to feel like spring, So I'm doing good. How about you?
we are at that time of the year, and I'm down in New Orleans. We always say that. I always say we only have two seasons, and that's hot and cold. So we're
Um,
right there, getting in between the two right now. So yes, we are certainly enjoying that weather. It's festival season here, and we are so excited as usual for
Oh, that's amazing. I think that's how it should be. That two seasons is all you need, hot and cold, honestly, because all this interchanging mess, that's what gets my immune system all messed up, Like when you're in the middle of it going from hot to cold. And anyway, well, yeah, we're back with another episode of One Africa Worldview. Y'all already know, episode 34.
34, y'all. It is Monday. It is that time of the day. So come on in, join us because we have a show for you today. As always, come on in and join us. We have the show and we have the artists that you want to hear. So come on in, y'all. Come on in. Let's get this started. Let's get it started.
That's right. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Type in Uhuru, tuning in from blank, and let us know.
Tell your friends to share. We're live. We're live. Tell them come on in right
That's
here every Monday. You know how we do.
exactly. But if you're ready, comrade, I'm ready to go ahead and start the show while
All
folks
right.
come on in.
Come on in. Let's do it.
All right. Well, Uhuru comrades, I am Soliana Bakel, managing editor of The Burning Spear, the longest running Black Power newspaper in the world, and the official voice of the African People's Socialist Party.
And I'm Dr. Mariah, promotions coordinator for Black Power 96.3 FM radio based out of St. Petersburg, Florida, but streaming worldwide on the Black Power 96 mobile app, y'all. And our show airs on Black Power 96 radio every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
That is right. And this is One Africa Worldview, the show that brings African internationalist analysis on world events, culture, politics, and history, and shows how African people everywhere are connected in one global struggle against colonialism.
Yeah. And for today's episode, y'all, we have one that we are focusing on something so powerful, a tool that has connected our globally dispersed nation, something that unites people everywhere, moves the people, y'all, provides a soundtrack for every life event and every emotion. And I'm talking about music, something that we all love and adore, the music, y'all. And today we specifically are looking at how blues, rock, and neo soul music are deeply rooted in African culture and history, y'all.
That's exactly right. And these genres didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? While the colonizer has historically stolen these sounds and repurposed them for their profit, scratching off the names of the originators to crown themselves kings and queens of rock and, roll or pop or whatever genre that didn't emerge out of feudal Europe, right? African people are reclaiming the sound. And from the sounds and instruments of Africa, these genres emerged from the exporter culture and experiences of African people. They came from spirituals sung in bondage to work songs in the fields, to rallying cries that united people to fight back, to the blues that emerged in the Mississippi Delta, and then all the way to the modern neo soul movement that continues that legacy today.
Yeah, yeah. And today we are just so honored to have two artists joining us whose music really reflects that image, y'all, and that whole lineage that we see there. We have Buddy Red, a blues rock musician from Atlanta, whose work channels the spirit of Southern blues traditions, y'all. And we also have Mark Adams, the legendary keyboardist and longtime musical director for Roy Ayers, continuing the evolution of neo soul, y'all.
Right, and we'll talk with each of them about their music, their influences, and how African cultural expression continues shaping the sound of the world.
Yeah, so stay with us for this whole next hour because you know how we do it. And as we explore this whole global impact of African music here and directly from these artists that are carrying that tradition forward for us today. And you can weigh in on the conversation, y'all, just as you always do there, adding your voices in the chat. But before we get to this for the culture segment today, we kick off the show with our Whirlwind weekly updates, as we always do, giving you just an update look at the news and analysis on events impacting the African world. So, Comrade Ciliana, can you kick us off with the latest in the U.S. and Israel war on Iran?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, just to start off, don't fall for the US-Israel bluster about what's happening with this war. While the US and Israel are the colonial aggressors, they're also getting their behinds kicked, right? US President Donald John Trump continues rambling on Truth Social about the need for Iran to surrender, but it's the US that needs to really wave the white flag. The latest developments show that Iran is prepared for the long game. Iran is both firing and producing a lot of weapons, while the US and Israel are already running short. From what we can tell, Iran's strategy has been to saturate US Israel's multi-million-dollar air defenses with cheap $20,000 drones, followed by heavy missiles, then more rounds of drone saturation. We've seen reports that say Iran has been targeting underground military bunkers and eliminating enemy forces. Reports indicate that the settler Israeli casualties within the first 3 days of the war actually include 11 nuclear scientists, 6 generals, 198 Air Force, 462 foot soldiers, and 32 Mossad. Over 1,000 US troops are dead or wounded. Iran's strategic targeting has included cyberspace, US military bases throughout the region, oil tankers, terminal high altitude defense batteries, and possibly desalination plants, which Israel and the Gulf states rely on for clean water. And this follows the US and United Arab Emirates assault on Iran's desalination plant. Part of the fight back has been the people, not just the Iranian military. Iraqi resistance has joined in attacking US military posts. The people of Syria have joined in the fight back. Hezbollah has launched critical assault on illegitimate settler Israel's northern region, causing evacuations, and many of the settler colonizers are actually fleeing back to Europe amid this resistance. And finally, Iran elected a new supreme leader, Majab Khamenei, the son of the assassinated supreme leader Ali Khamenei. Gas prices have risen on the average of 50 cents per gallon in only a week in the US due to the cutoff from the Strait of Hormuz and expected to skyrocket even more. And Trump has actually been flirting with the possibility of a ground invasion of Iran, which Iran assures will result in disaster for the US. And in the midst of this, Iran announced intensification and commitment to fight until the war's permanent end. So that's our latest with Iran's resistance to U.S. invasion. But Comrade Mariah, we've got some exciting movement updates, and the first one's actually related to Black Pearl 96.3 FM. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Black Power 96.3 FM. And as our listeners and viewers know, Black Power 96 held its annual February member fund drive to raise funds for the station's operations. And our show was one of the participant programmers in those fundraising efforts there. So the station did fall short there of its overall goal, but it's never too late, y'all, to donate at blackpower96.org/donate. But we did have some great community outreach and engagement that we saw there, y'all, and just spreading the reach of Black Power 96's listeners there. And on Saturday, February 28th, Black Power 96 Radio held a special in-person event at the radio station that was also broadcast online, and it was called The Turn Up. And it was something, y'all, it was so dynamic. It was a program that just really introduced our viewers and listeners to the Black Power 96 DJ and family there, and other volunteers who just really keep the station going as they do every day. And local artists, they all came out and it just was on the scene. The programming included the saxophonist Henry Ashford was there, Mars Bear was there. It was just really legendary there. Some all the DJs from even former WRXB Radio, Ivan Summers, and Stephen also showed up there to discuss the importance of community radio. So if you missed the program, you can watch the recording on the Burning Spear TV YouTube channel, and you can look it up live tab for the Turn Up. That's the Turn Up, y'all. And on yesterday, Sunday, March 8th, Black Power 96 Radio held a gospel benefit concert featuring Joseph Smith, Natalie Jordan Nixon, New Cretan, evangelist Adina Bell, Sight, and Eddie Maltsby Jr., also the Ray Charles of Gospel, the station manager of Black Power 96. So the African People's Socialist Party Southern Regional Representative Jennifer Labumba also gave a moving call for people to get involved and come to St. Louis for the April 17th through 19th plenary there. And it was just a really packed house filled with the sounds of Africa, the tambourines, drums, keyboards, all of that, y'all, and just guitars, and the people were out and filling in these seats. So it was a great event for the community and just a support for our very own Black Power 96.3 FM radio. So speaking of community and support, you've got some information about a budget meeting in St. Louis, right? And please tell our listeners and viewers about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the St. Louis, Missouri Board of Aldermen Budget Committee met on February 25 to discuss updates from the City Recovery Office in regards to tornado relief or really lack thereof. City Recovery Office Chief Julian Nix highlighted what has and has not been 10 months following the tornado that devastated the Northside African community in May of last year. Nix harped on tree stumps and how more has to be done on removing them, while not acknowledging the immediate self-deployment of the African community who cleaned up debris, organized power and clothing distribution sites while the city enforced a curfew. There was nothing said about when the African community will receive resources and no exact time for when the African community can rebuild. The report did show how some of the funds were distributed. The United Way was contracted out for $28.5 million, which in turn administered funds to Catholic Charities, LifeWise, Hope, Salvation Army, Better Family Life, and 314 Oasis. The report shows that the distribution of these resources supported resource hubs and United Way administration fees that total more than $1 million. And the West and North City has not seen any of these in a real material way. The African communities are still devastated, but the Uhuru movement stepped up once again to provide political leadership and call out the city for letting the African quote unquote rot. Present was the International People's Democratic Uhuru movement, the Uhuru Solidarity movement, and the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association. The budget meeting ended without any measurable results. Everyone left unfulfilled per usual, and no one was really satisfied with the city recovery plan or any legislation that was supposed to release the St. Louis Ram settlement money. But in more recent news, the current administration attempted to make FEMA pay for demolition for properties owned by the city that were falling down for years. But FEMA essentially said, like, hell no, we're not doing any of your dirty work. But of course, fortunately, the Uhuru movement brought solutions to the North Side with material benefits with such projects as the Reparations Investment Corporation, whereas anyone anywhere can invest in real estate and get 7.5% on the returns, which is in part to reverse the gentrification and land grabbing of the Northside African community. And further, there's also the Black Power Blueprint and the various programs and institutions that provide resources and volunteer opportunities for those who want to help transform the colonial conditions of the African community. And this struggle and the work of the Uhuru movement is doing, to take it on is ever more a reason why we should all be trying to get to St. Louis for the African Youth Socialist Party's International Planning Conference, which is set for April 17 and 19. Of course, you guys have heard us mention this before, and for more info on that, you can visit apsplenary.org. But this does bring us to the end of our Whirlwind Weekly Update, and you can, of course, visit theburningspear.com for more revolutionary news and analysis. But now, Dr. Mariah, it is time for our For the Culture segment.
Yeah, let's get into it. And before we really just jump into the interviews today, guys, we want to just really highlight something just really important culturally here, the culture. And across the African diaspora, we see that music has always been more than just really entertainment when it comes to our people. It has been a tool of survival, just a communication, just a way to really form resistance. So from the drums that were banned during slavery to the spirituals that carried hidden messages of escape, y'all, to the blues that express grief and resilience. African music has always been political. And even today, many of the world's biggest musical genres trace directly back to the African innovation. And we can look at blues, we look at jazz, we look at gospel, rock and roll, there's R&B, there's soul, y'all, there's hip hop, and there's neo soul. And all of these genres emerge from the African cultural expression and creativity.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And this history is important because colonial narratives often erase that foundation. And many people hear rock and roll without realizing its roots in blues. They hear folk music without recognizing the African storytelling traditions that shaped it. They listen to neo soul without realizing how deeply it connects to earlier African, musical forms. And today's show is all about bringing that history forward. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. So to start, y'all, we are joined by Buddy Red. Buddy Red is an Atlanta-based blues and rock artist whose music blends Southern blues traditions with modern influences. And Buddy is a multi-instrumentalist known for his guitar work and powerful live performances. And his music draws inspiration, y'all, from artists like Jimi Hendrix, James Brown, and Pink Floyd, just creating the sound that just merges all the things that we mentioned of that blues, the rock, and the soul when it comes to that. And his current single, Sold His Soul, has explored that very moment when a young musician loses his innocence and controls and confronts that reality of the music industry, y'all. And his new single, I Got a Feeling Things Gonna Change, that's actually coming out on March 13th. Buddy has become a fixture in the Atlanta music scene, performing regularly at venues like the Northside Tavern and Smith's Old Bar, and just really collaborated with major brands, y'all. Major brands, including BMW and the Atlanta Hawks, even. So, Buddy Red, we want to welcome you to One Africa Worldview Show. Welcome to the show.
Ooh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And you just, as we mentioned, just your sound, it blends this whole thing of the blues, the rock, and the soul there. We just really want you to speak to our listeners here, Ev. Can you really speak to just how those influences really shaped your music?
Man, so I think I discovered my love for rock and roll first. That came about when I was around 18 and I saw a movie called Bohemian Rhapsody. And I didn't know what it was about until I sat in the theater and I was just hit with the music and the history of it all. But once I, discovered rock and roll, I realized that rock and roll is derived from the blues. And so that's when I started, doing my research on what my heroes listened to, who were their heroes, which were, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, Little Walter, Little Richard, and the like. But that's where my influences came from. Just a lot of old geezers that
Yeah,
really moved
yeah.
mountains back in the day.
Yeah, and just how you said, just really, who are your influences, and when you said just really, what all of that was just really grounded into, and we know that was the blues. And when it
Hmm.
comes to blues, the blues is something that all of those roots, all those genres go back to, and that's just something as a culture that we've been able to express ourselves. And when it comes to that, when it comes to the whole African diaspora, the blues is where it's at. And what does that history, when it comes to that, mean specifically to you as an artist?
Well, I consider myself an artist 100%, but I think even before I was an artist, I was somewhat of a historian. I love history. If you could take me back, if you gave me the option to go 100 years into the future or 100 years into the past to be a fly on the wall, I'd rather go in the past and, see how much things, kind of impacted today. Saying all of that to say, um, the blues has a very rich history behind it. And if I can talk a little bit about myself for a second,
Yes,
um, I
definitely.
consider myself, you know, an African American, and I don't know the exact heritage of, you know, me, myself. I don't know exactly what makes up me and how many different parts of the world my ancestors were from, but I know for certain that my ancestors derived from Africa. And of course, that transition from Africa to America, it was, ripe with a lot of pain and a lot of suffering and, for lack of better words, man, a lot of blues. And the music that I make, the music that Jimi Hendrix made, the music that Pink Floyd makes, that they made, it all came from that transition from, Africa to America. And that's when the blues, as the world knows it today, that's where that was, really realized, I believe. And I'm always looking to learn more. Every time I learn about a new blues artist from the 40s, or 30s, or the 20s, I'm always, excited to lend an ear because I'm finding that the more I find out, the more I realize that there are more people to discover, that add to the history that I know. I know it's a
I hear
long-winded
you.
answer, but
No, 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 no. Right, I'm right there with you. Like we have to learn from our past, just as you said, the history, it's there, and we're seeing it all there when it comes to, like you said, from a very young age, and when it comes to that, just learning from what our ancestors and what our African roots, as you mentioned, it's in our soul and it's in that blues. So speaking of that and that innocence there, your song sold his soul. And that song, it just really touches on that losing that innocence there at a young age. And we want to play a clip of that before we speak to it. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
little tune.
Sold his soul there. And that is just so powerful there. And just those words there, sold his soul for $1. What inspired that story, Buddy Red?
Well, I remember at the time of writing it, I was an aspiring musician, and I was trying to figure out how to make my hobby a career. And my brother at the time, he was a little bit further ahead of me trying to solve that riddle for himself. He's a musician as well, and I was in college at the time of writing it, and I was having one of my many conversations with him on the way to school, where he's telling me what I have to do if I want to make it in the music business. Like if I want to be successful, I have to do this. The music is only 10% of what you need to be worrying about in the music business. You need to worry about this. You need to worry about that. You need to think about this money. You need to think about that, this, and that. You need to think about content, your consumers. Da, da. So he just started, I guess, preparing me for what I was getting into. And at the time, it frustrated me a lot. And I was thinking, man, well, if I want to make it, it sounds like I'm going to have to give up, a part of myself. I'm going to have to get rid of the person that's, doing this because he truly loves it. And he doesn't really care as much about success in other people's definition. I'm going to have to get rid of that. I'm going to have to do this because I want to be successful, because I want to be, rich, or I want to be famous, or what. Like, I didn't feel comfortable with, his take on, a music career. And so I wrote the song because I wrote the first line of the song, he sold his soul for $1, because it felt like that's what was expected of me to, make it. I got to do these things because I need money. If I want to be successful, if I want to make this a career, I'm going to need money. So I got to just get rid of that innocent guy with a guitar that's just doing this because he loves the history of it and he wants to be a part of it. No, you wanted some money, so this is why you're doing this. And so I was kind of being not sarcastic, but I was being, part of my friends, really a smart ass, really. But I really felt what I was writing was very true to how I felt at the time. And looking back, I think that I was just a bit intimidated by growth. The truth of the matter was, if I wanted to be successful, I was going to have to grow and be ready and willing for the challenges coming forward, in the music business and my music career. I was just a little bit intimidated. And so that's why I wrote the song.
Oh wow, that's so powerful there. Just how you said, just really defining what your definition of success was. You see everything going on around you. You see everything all pulling in all the different ways. What is it that I want out of this? And that's certainly powerful for you to decide when you are taking this journey. And like you said, from a very young age, and having music influence around you, you're like, okay, well, what is it that I want out of this? So, it's very, very important and certainly powerful for you to mention that. And just speaking of that journey and where you are now, looking at your single, I got a feeling things gonna change. Let's speak to that. And that's y'all for our listeners there and our viewers. That's dropping on actually coming up on March 13th. And we want you just to let our listeners know as far as that journey, what inspired that track and that piece there.
So I got a feeling things gonna change. I wrote that maybe a little bit before I wrote "Sold His Soul." A lot of these songs they've been sitting in my mind and in my
Mm-hmm.
computer for a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a feeling I wrote that as a story. I guess I could say it tells the story of a working musician finally making that transition from scrounging, trying to find his next dollar, to being a superstar, all while in a relationship.
Oh wow.
And the song, the story, is me talking to the woman that was with me before it and after the fame. And so it's
Mm.
me kind of telling her, I got a feeling things gonna change. I got this big opportunity coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make some
Mm-hmm.
money. I'm gonna be right back. And
Yeah.
then this, I mean, I don't want to tell the whole story,
You
but
tell her just stick around, just wait around, just a little bit longer. It's gonna change. Oh wow, that's certainly that's powerful. And as far as that, we also highlighted that when it comes to music, like you said, it's in you, multi instrumentalist. When it comes to that, the guitar, the drums, bass, the harmonica, even, and just let our listeners know how does that shape the whole songwriting process when it comes to creating these pieces here.
man, it makes the songwriting process a lot more personal. And that's both good and bad.
Mhm.
But either way, it makes it more personal because I know exactly how I want it to sound. Whether or not I have the ability to make it sound like how I want it to sound, I know how I want it to sound. And I'm able to do my best to bring what's in me out into the world to, really express what I want to express. That's the case with I Got a Feeling. I played all the drums on it. I played the guitar, the bass, and yeah, the harmonic as well. Um, I usually start with conceptualizing the song, and then once I kind of have the beginning, middle, and end of it in my mind, I um I play it on the drums all the way through, and then I play the bass on top of the drums. Then I play the guitar on top of the bass and the drums, and then I got a little band to sing over top of. Um, and then the harmonica was kind of like a fun little thing to do because I was listening to Muddy Waters and Little Walter at the time, and
Mhm,
they were the dynamic duo, back in the 50s and the
mhm,
late
mhm,
40s. So I kind of just wanted to pay homage to that and really try to give listeners I don't know, a little trail to follow. Like, oh man, where'd you get that from? Well, if
mhm,
you like
mhm.
what I did, you're gonna love what they did. Just kind of uh, paying, like I said, homage
Pay
to,
them homage, yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah. Give them their, as we
homage.
say now, it's give them their flowers, and that is definitely something there. And I like how you mentioned there. I like how you mentioned to where you know what you want the sound, you know what the message is that you want to give. And then how else the better than okay, not having to explain that to someone else. I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna play this myself. So yeah, that is certainly powerful. And yeah, thank you for letting us know how that whole process when it comes to these powerful messages are coming together in that process. So yeah. And speaking of just when it comes to those performances, let's speak to that a little bit when it comes to, we see that you have a lot of stuff going on here when it comes up here. And we see that you'll be at the South by Southwest this year, and you're appearing at festivals here like the Artscape and the Atlanta Jazz Festival. What are you really the most excited about when it comes to this next chapter in the journey here?
I'm most excited for the new audiences that I'm bound to reach with, these bigger stages and, these foreign places that I'm going to be performing at. Um, every time I get on the stage and someone new sees me, they usually love it. And they usually wonder where I've been or where can I find you? Where can I support? And so I'm always excited to, touch, new fans and um, I'm always looking forward to meeting new people because
Mhm.
I'm still looking for my tribe, I guess you could say, meaning I'm still looking for lack of better words, help, when it comes to bringing my vision out. I'm still
Mhm.
looking for help when it comes to, being mentored. I'm still looking for help when it comes to, you know, just figuring things out, creatively and any other way you can think of. So going to South by Southwest and going to Atlanta Jazz Fest and everywhere else I'm going in between, I'm always keeping my eyes open, my ears open, and seeing what is my reason for being here other than being on the stage.
Yeah, like you said, just really going back to how we said earlier, just really defining that success that you want, learning as you go, and just really shaping that journey as you go. That's certainly powerful. So yeah, thank you so much for explaining that. Now, as before you get out of here, and it's just been such a great conversation, being able to catch up with you here. What do you want our listeners to know? What is it that you want to share with our listeners? You can have the floor here.
Mhm. What would I like to share? Man, I would say if you're passionate about something, I think that you should prove it by diving as deep into the history of it as possible. If you love, gardening, growing flowers, I think you should read a couple of history books about gardening and flowers. If you love uh, acting, or if you love, you know, technology, you should definitely know about the people that also loved acting and technology in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I think that learning the history of, or learning the history behind your interests, they really invigorate your interests even more, and they make you want to contribute to the upcoming history of your interest. That's what I would
Exactly.
suggest, and that's what I want to say. I want to say dive into the history of whatever it is that you love to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's so powerful. And you're exactly right. You have to know where you come from to know where you're going. And that's not just something that the older people told us. And oh, I just, some fluff there in one out of ear and out the other, maybe at that time. But now, like you mentioned, we know that is the truth. We have to know where we come from to know where we're going. So that is certainly powerful. We want to say thank you so much for even giving us the time today and sharing this artistry with us. It is so powerful. We are so excited about your journey here, Buddy Red. And just want to thank you so much for joining us on the show today in this discussion. And we hope to have you again, actually, on the show again in the future. And we'll just keep following your music journey and supporting you here at Black Power 96.3 and on One Africa Worldview here podcast. So you want to keep up with Buddy Red, y'all. Make sure to check out his new single, I Got a Feeling Things Gonna Change, dropping March 13th. You can follow him on Instagram at Buddy Red, and you can check out his performance actually tomorrow if you're out in the New Orleans area with Dusky Waters. He'll be performing right there on Tuesday, March 10th, y'all. So we have him coming up at the South by Southwest Festival, Artscape that we discussed, Atlanta Jazz Festival, just everywhere. So lock in on those socials, y'all, and support this brother. He has it going on and everything this summer that we're so excited about. So yeah, y'all, this is Buddy Red on One Africa Worldview. Thank you so much, y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, what an amazing interview. Yes. Shout out Buddy Red. And, love this comment about, learning the history of something you're passionate about as a historian, as a student of history. I really appreciated that. But yeah, we're just, we're going to go ahead and move on with the show. Joining in on our conversation today, we're also joined by Mark Adams, right? A legendary keyboardist and composer who spent more than 2 decades as musical director for Roy Ayers' band Ubiquity. Mark helped carry the sound of Roy Ayers, often called the godfather of neo soul, across the world through thousands of performances. His upcoming album, This Is Neo Soul, releasing March 20, brings together musicians from the bands of Roy Ayers, Chic, Lonnie Liston Smith, Luther Vandross, and Shaka Khan. The album continues the musical language that helped define neo soul, blending jazz, soul, funk, and Afro rhythm. So, Mark Adams, welcome to One Africa Worldview, and thank you so much for joining us. Going once, going twice.
Yeah, I think we have Mark on just audio now. We're trying to get the brother on to the video to make sure all of our good
Yep.
viewers can see him as well. But yeah, just it's just until then, like we said, we just this is certainly a powerful discussion, y'all. As usual, we have it going on over here, and today is no different. Buddy Red, oh, that is such a powerful brother there, and I'm just so excited. I'm a fan, so I'm so excited to see where this music journey goes for him, and along with him, we will definitely be supporting here. So, yeah, we
Yeah,
want to
no,
make
absolutely. And I really did like the snippet of the song that y'all played, Soul to Soul. I said, wait a minute, like this is a banger. Like, okay, I was bobbing my head, behind the scenes, like, okay, I'm gonna get into Buddy Red for sure. But yeah, it seems like we may not be getting any feed from Mark Adams. Let's see. Pardon for the technical difficulties, listeners of One
yeah.
Africa
And
Worldview.
I was just gonna suggest if we want to run some more of that with that Buddy Red. I mean, I don't have a problem at all listening to that. It's such powerful there. You can definitely put that on until we can get our brother Mark here on the line and make sure that we're able to see him and talk to him properly.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll actually while we work on getting him on, let's play Mark Adams'
Okay.
song snippet, Open Letter. We'll discuss it once we get him on, but let's play that until we get him on. Yes, go ahead.
Show me ways that I find you. Show me ways why I need your touch. I see why I lay down next to your head. This is what I wrote for the open letter. Yeah, this is what I wrote for the open letter. Yeah, make me yours and I'll make you mine. I remember your sweet lips by the candlelight. In plain sight, you see I pour my whole heart out. This is what I wrote for the open letter. Yeah, this is what I wrote for the open letter. I made up my mind in the beginning. It was dark.
Oh,
Oh, that was cool too. I like that open letter. Made up my mind and wrote an open letter. A vocalist there and that music there. That is what we said. That is what it's all about, y'all. That is in the culture there. And y'all, we're still trying to get our brother Mark Adams here on the line to make sure we're able to have this discussion with him. But yeah, we just may not be able to get Mark back on today. But and we definitely continue on in this conversation. This is something that we are here for the culture, and that's what we're here for, y'all, is the culture. So like we said, we had Buddy Red on, and I mean, I just cannot tell you how powerful that young man is when it comes to the music and just having that discussion of knowing where we come from to know where we're going. And that is exactly what we're telling y'all. We have to educate ourselves, y'all. We have to do it for ourselves, and that is exactly what that brother is doing there when it comes to knowing, okay, what is it where do I want my career to go to? Where do I want my career to what defines my career, and what is the meaning, and what do I want out of this? Not what they want from me, but what do I want from this? So yeah, that is something that we always say right here on One Africa Worldview, is that you have to do it for yourself, and this brother is showing you that is what is going on here. So yeah, I'm just kind of I'll admit to it that I'm just so, so enamored when it comes to my thing. It's music. Like Power 96 with the music. So I'm so excited, just to have these conversations, to have these discussions when it comes to our music. And what, like I said, it's not just, sounds, it's not just noise, it's a part of our rhythm. It's how we speak, it's how we move, it's inside of us. So yeah, just having this whole culture discussion today, that is showing that this is something that we can all unite in, no matter all these different genres that we see. It all points back to Africa, y'all. So yeah, that is certainly powerful. So yeah, we do have some comments here, so we'll look into those comments and check into that. But when I say let's see here, let's check out some of our comments that we have coming in here. Yeah, we see.
Yeah, we're getting some obviously problematic comments, as we always do when we talk about African culture, and just to reiterate the theme of this show too, because we talked about this before the show even began, with our interview with Buddy Red. Like, this is African music. Like, this isn't even a sort of logical leap to make. Everything that we have created here, right? Blues, jazz, soul, R&B, rock and roll, all have their foundation in Africa, right? This is a historically sort of sound thing. Like, you can hear it in the very way that the rhythm of these different musical expressions sound. Obviously, their genres are going to sound different, but they come from the same people, right? What does Chairman always say, Mariah? What you get on the boat as an African,
and you get off the boat as an African. There's
exactly.
some magic that happens along the way to change us to something else. Yeah. We're all
exactly.
African,
And the music of created here in the so-called Americas, right, is proof of that, because you could hear similarities, you could see the similarities in the movements and the dances and the clothing. Like, I think culture, rather than become the sort of tool that ADOS uses to sort of make this exceptionalist argument, really works against them. Because if you just look at the goddamn thing itself, sorry for my French, but like, if you just look at what we're actually talking about, it disproves the whole thing, right? And so yeah, just we gotta always put the correct line out there when it comes to these sort of Black American culture, quote unquote. Like, this is a historical trajectory that African people have been on, right? And music, if anything, is such a clear expression of how that unites us as one African people. And yeah, I just really appreciated everything that was said in that interview, Carmen Mariah. Like, I think it reiterated what we put out, right? Because even Buddy Red was like, look at the history of something that you're passionate about, right? And I truly believe in that. And I myself, I'm like a huge reggae fan. I know in the past we've done a For the Culture on just just reggae, and just a brief sort of discussion around that. And that's another really clear expression of African people's culture, right? And it was actually Walter Rodney in one of his books. I think it might actually have been in How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, but he literally says, like, drums are the drum beat or the heartbeat of reggae, and drums really are so central to African cultures. Like, in any sort of ceremony that we may have, and any, even when we're going to war, like, there's war drums. Like, drums are used to communicate, like, drums are for movement. And that like quintessential sound is like present all these different sort of expressions that we're talking about today, right, when we're talking about African music. So yeah, I just appreciated that whole discussion.
Yeah, and like, just as I want to highlight there, when you mentioned all those different sounds, that we brought those over, those sounds, that sounds of that rhythm in those drums. And like I said, those rhythms, that's a rhythm of expression. That's a rhythm of communication. That's a rhythm of oppression. And that's also a rhythm of resistance. So when it comes to that, just the people who actually created that sound, those people are African. So then that's just speaking to some of the comments there. And as always here on One Africa Worldview, we will get those comments here on our own. And these are for our viewers are in our chat here. And this is not for the radio stream. But yeah, we will always get these comments, but we will always have a comment back for you too. So don't you forget that at all there. So yeah, when it comes to, there's no magical boats, as we mentioned, and the chairman has mentioned that also. We're not something happening there along the waters. No, and that's something that you can't take out of us. That's in our spirit. Like I said, that's in our blood. It's in every breath that we take. That rhythm, that is a part of us. And that is the reason why we call it For the Culture.
I know that's right. And I believe we actually have Mark Adams on. Mark Adams, can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly right here as well. Thank you so much for coming back on. I knew we were having a little bit of trouble, but glad to see you on.
Yes.
Well, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get right into our interview questions for you, if that's all right.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So, just start off. We know that you spent over 20 years working with Roy Ayers, and we just wanted to know, like, what was the most sort of important lesson you learned from him musically and sort of, being in the environment?
Learning how to improvise
Mm,
and just learning how to just be real with yourself. That was one of the most important lessons I learned from Roy. Is when my first gig was right out of college with Roy, and I had to meet him in um Texas. Um, I can't remember the city. Dallas, Caravan of Dreams, which is no longer there, but at that time it was the biggest jazz venue in the world, and I played there and with Roy. That was my first gig with him,
mm,
and he was amazing, and I was so in awe of him, and that we did sound check where he wanted, because when Roy hired me, he didn't come to the rehearsal. He said, "I need you to go to this rehearsal to learn my music." I said, "Cool," and I was there, and he wasn't there. He was already in Texas, so I did the rehearsal. His MD vouched for me, and his musical director vouched for me, and
mm,
his road manager, who was David Baldwin's. That's James Baldwin's brother, and he vouched for me, and he
mm,
was Roy's road manager, and he said, "Yeah, the young guy sounds good." So I go to Texas. Roy got me the ticket, my airline ticket, and we went there. And then when I got there, I was so in awe of him
mm,
because he's a superstar. So I was playing a little bit timid because I didn't want to make any mistakes.
mm,
And Roy clapped back at me really hard and said, Stop playing like you're scared of the piano. It ain't gonna bite you." I was like, "Yeah, my father don't even talk to me like this. What, who is this cat talking to me like this?" But he's Roy Ayers, and and I had to deal with that, and I did, and that it changed my world.
mm,
It changed how I played music. It changed how I approach everything,
mm,
because when he said that to me and yelled at me in my face, I said, "Oh, okay, all right." So then I just started playing. He said, and he said, "Stop! Don't be scared of making mistakes. It's jazz.
mm,
Don't be scared to make mistakes. Just play and play strong. And if you play wrong, fuck it." Excuse my language. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that.
all good.
Just just if you make a mistake, it's okay.
Mm,
And and he did that for me.
mm,
And changed it, changed my whole world, my whole perspective of playing music. I
no,
stopped being scared. I stopped trying to be perfect.
mhm,
Just I just wanted to be as accurate as possible, and then also play improvisationally
Mm,
awesome.
mm,
And that's what I did. And it never changed
mm.
to that moment
Right.
when he yelled at me like that.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. That sounds like a really amazing story, and it sounds like he was very formative to how you came to your own as a musician.
Yeah,
And
because check this out, Selania,
so yeah, yep,
Solania,
yeah,
Solana,
Soliana. Uh-huh.
Soliana.
There you go.
Okay, he said to me, um, "Don't listen to my records. I
Mm,
want you to listen to it to learn the music, but don't play like the other piano players. Put make this music yourself."
mm.
And that's exactly what I did.
Right. Right. No, thank you for sharing that. That's really cool to hear. And to just, talk about sort of neo soul as a modern genre, people see it as a modern genre, but it really, its roots really go back decades. And so we wanted to ask you, like, how do you personally define neo soul? What's so neo about neo soul? You know?
Neo soul is black music,
Hmm.
and the thing is, everybody interprets it differently.
Right.
They interpret it differently. Um, I look at neo soul as R&B
Mhm.
mixed with jazz and mixed with different underlining components of jazz and funk and hip hop. All of that is combined to it. Now, everybody has their own interpretation of neo jazz. Erica Badu, who I played with,
Mhm.
and Jill Scott, who I never played with, which I had, and other artists that played this music. And Roy was the godfather of neo soul,
Mhm.
and I took that because I played with him for over 20 years. So I know what he was doing and why he was considered godfather of neo soul.
Mhm.
But everybody interpreted neo soul differently.
Right.
Everybody did. So I didn't.
Mhm.
I went with Roy's definition, and which was black music,
Right.
and that's where we went. And and he always told me, as a black musician, um because white people always, excuse my language, I don't mean to talk
Oh,
like
not at
that,
all.
but they steal our shit. They always do. But Roy Ayers said, as a black musician recording new music, you got to continue to innovate. They can't continue to copy
Hmm.
as long as we're continuing to innovate. And that was the lesson I learned from Roy Ayers, and
Hmm.
and I did that. I continued to,
Hmm.
and I wasn't even going to do this record. I wasn't even interested in doing this record,
Hmm.
but I did it because of those words that Roy said to me. I said, because I was in a dark place. I just lost my mom. My mom passed away, and then the producer of my last record, which was I Forgot to Remember to Forget. That was my last record. And and he passed away, and that was my best friend. And so I wasn't interested in doing a new record. But
Hmm.
Down Jazz Records contacted me. They wanted to do a new record with me. I said no. but then I said yes.
Oh, well, we're glad you said yes, and and that actually brings brings me to our
Oh
question
shoot!
in our
Oh
last
my gosh!
yeah, so your new album, this is Neo Soul, it brings together musicians connected to some of the most important figures in Black music. Like you said, Neo Soul is Black music. What was your vision for this project, and what do you hope younger artists learn from the legacy of Neo Soul?
Um, we are not defined by our circumstances.
Mm,
So um, there are no limitations as to what we can do out here. So therefore, um, um, the more we increase the richness of that which is within us, the more we increase the richness of 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 our old uh, 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 solitude.
mhm,
So the so yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a gift. So we have to just live life with a passion, and and that's what I would. That's how I interpreted all of that, and
mhm.
that's what made me do what I did, and hopefully the young people behind me will continue to enhance. We have to very important for us to do, because I have I'm a college professor also,
Okay.
and I teach my students all the time.
Mhm.
Continue to write music, innovate, innovate,
Mm,
innovate.
yes.
They will not catch up with us
Mm,
with the innovation. They'll
right.
copy us like they've always done.
Mhm.
And that might be a bad thing. Maybe I said something out of pocket.
No, you didn't.
They copy us.
Yes, that's true. That's a fact. It is a
They
fact.
copy us. And we have to continue to innovate, because they'll never catch up
Mhm.
as long as the Black young people continue to innovate, which they're doing, which they always been doing. And what happens? We get copied, and then they play their shit first, the white boy shit. Excuse my language. I shouldn't say that. Should y'all, are y'all gonna edit this?
We are. We will. Mariah, we can't hear you. She says something.
I'm saying that you can say whatever you like over here. It's just so powerful to hear you saying that we are not going to stifle you at any bit, but we will make sure that our editors get to work afterwards. Like,
Because I want Donald Trump to come after me.
No, no.
I'm just playing. I ain't worried about that shit. But we have to continue to innovate as
Yeah.
Black young musicians. Continue to write
Mhm.
great music. Tell your story. Tell your story, and don't be afraid to tell it. That's what I want to
Right.
happen,
Right.
and that's what voyeurs
Mhm.
taught me. And if I'm a little bit too aggressive about this, I'm sorry.
No, not at all. It's the passion, and y'all heard it right here, man. Straight from Mark Adams' wise words. We really want to appreciate you for coming on today. To join us in this discussion. To all of our viewers and listeners, this has been Mark Adams. This is Neo Soul by Mark Adams. It's out now. And Mark, before you go, is there any future activities that may be on the docket that you want to let folks know if we still have you on? Yes.
I'm kind of still on, but it's okay now. I'm still on.
Yeah.
What do you want to ask me?
if there's any future activities you want folks to know before you
I'm getting ready to go tour Europe in July,
Okay.
and I'm doing the states.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start doing statewide shows in April. I've already been touring since Roy Ayers retired. So I
Mhm.
did Keystone Corner, Blues Alley. I've done a bunch of shows. I opened up for Brian Culberson on a bunch of shows. Um, so
Okay.
it, that that's what's happening.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do Europe in July.
All
And
right.
um and Ronnie Scott's is the place I want to go, and they haven't confirmed things for me, and I'm disappointed
Mhm.
about that. And that's not your problem. I shouldn't even bring it up, but I'm gonna bring it up. I played there with Roy Ayers for freaking 10 years at least, more than that actually. And but that was a different foundation. Do you understand that things that was the real deal at that time? And we did 3 weeks at a time,
Mhm.
and we sold out the whole time.
Yeah.
So but what is it called when things get compromised, where it becomes um I don't know the word. Oh my gosh. Where they they don't, can't think of the um I don't want to say computerized, because that's definitely ain't a word. But
Mhm.
what's the word? Can y'all tell me? Can y'all help me?
Uh, I'm not really sure. Maybe commercialized, digitized. I know
Commercialized.
commercialized. Okay.
Where you have a entity that controls
Mhm.
certain things, and then when they do that, that they create the they create the narrative.
Right. Right.
So they're like, okay, you only can play 2 nights here. You
Mhm.
only can play 2 nights here. That's it. That's what we doing. And then we're gonna bring this person in to do
Right.
2 nights. And Roy wasn't used to that shit. So excuse my language. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries. We do have to let you
You
go
can
soon.
edit that, right?
We will edit that. We do want to let you know that we are running a little bit over time for our program. If that's okay, we do have to let our audience go. But we just wanted to thank you again for spending this time with us today.
But
For
I don't want to end it on that.
I
No.
mean, yeah, if you want to end it a bit of on a higher note, I just wanted to let you know that we're about to wrap up.
All right.
Yeah.
The last note: God is the source of our supply, and all of our needs are constantly being met because there is a divine surplus. So we're gonna be okay.
All right. That's a good note. Well, thank you so much, Mark Adams.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Mark Adams. You have so much to say. We have to have you back on the show here. We don't want to end it now, but we have to end it. So yeah, we could continue this discussion and we could keep this going on. Yeah, so we will definitely have you back on the show, y'all. That is
just just
Mark
just just
Adams.
just, just
Hey,
play my new record, because the one thing important about my new record is I never did a dance record. All my records, if you look at my discography, all my records were instrumental with a little bit of vocals. This
mm-hmm.
record is vocals on everything, but still all kinds of improvisation. It's a 70s record, and it's my love for Roy Ayers.
And we love it too. We listened to it. We played it for our audience here while we were having our technical experience here before we had you got back on the line. So we did listen to it, and we'll make sure that we get that over here. And we are supporting on Black Power 96 FM on the radio and also on One Africa Worldview. So thank you so much, y'all. That is Mark Adams once again. And it's just so powerful to have these discussions. And we can't thank you so much. Thank you for joining the show here. And yeah, that was Mark Adams, y'all, on with One Africa Worldview podcast, y'all. As we promised, we have had a show for you today, and just listening to these artists, it just really reminds us that music is one of the things that we are all able to unite and communicate with, and it's just examples of how the African culture has shaped the world, y'all. And just from the blues to the jazz to the rock and roll, just you name it there when it comes to this neo soul, the influence of Africa, it is everywhere and it is in everything, y'all. But unfortunately, just the African people around the world just do not collectively own and control the value of our culture, influence, and that production. And you heard that right here in this discussion. And we will definitely carry this discussion on here. And it's just so we have so much to share. So, but of course, we are working on changing that reality. So, in speaking of which, Comrade Siliana, as we wrap up today's show here, you have some announcements for us that will just really let the people know what they can do to be a part of just building this anti-colonial movement here and just what we must do to capture power and freedom for ourselves. And can you just really let us know what we have here on the calendar?
Yes, absolutely. So on March 21 at 2 p.m. Eastern, the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition presents Hands Off Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Victory to African and Oppressed Peoples. And you can register for this webinar at handsoffuhuru.org/register. That's handsoffuhuru.org/register. And then you can, of course, join the African People's Socialist Party in St. Louis, Missouri on April 17 until the 19th for the 2026 International Plenary themed, this time till it's one, power in our own hands. It's not just Trump, it's the whole damn system. This is the planning forum we use to deepen our organization, enhance our organizing, and lead the African working class beyond spontaneous protest to the capture of actual dual and contending power. This is a place for all freedom-loving people determined to have a new world free of oppression and exploitation, to take part in actively changing the world. And of course, tickets are available at apsplenary.org. And for all of our events and everything else going on, please visit theburningspear.com/events. And of course, we'll be keeping you updated here on One Africa Worldview. So make sure you subscribe on any of the socials so that you're locked in and following.
Locked in, y'all. And just we want to thank you once again to all of our viewers, supporters, our listeners, and our guests here today. We had Buddy Red, y'all, and Mark Adams. So just don't forget to subscribe to our channels, lock into their channels, their socials. We want to support them there and just never miss a episode here on One Africa Worldview. You want to make sure you grab a copy of the March 2026 issue of the Burning Spear newspaper also. And we want to remind you that we are streaming there. We stream on the Burning Spear TV YouTube, Burning Spear Media Rumble channels, Black Power 96.3 FM radio, based in St. Petersburg, Florida, and streaming globally on the Black Power 96 FM app there. So until then, we will see y'all next week, y'all. And until next time, One Africa,
One Nation.